Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article. Well, actually, we're going to be taking a look at the bullet points and the last part of the article. It's from the Business Insider, and it was published 7 hours ago. So we're going to say on the 31st of July. It's written by Sonam Seth and Oma Sadiq. And basically, we're going to go through when Jim Jordan is questioning Fauci. Which it's funny, they were stupid enough to actually put his tweet there with the video. It's like they assume people aren't going to actually watch him grill Fauci and get their take from it. They just, I think, are thinking people aren't even going to look at it at all. But look at the title here. You're putting words in my mouth. Fauci and Rep Jim Jordan clash over police brutality protests at House Coronavirus. Now, this is what's funny. Police brutality protests. You know, I love how they're framing it right off the bat. You know, it isn't the looting, the rioting, the storming of federal buildings. It isn't, you know, any of those things. It's a protest against police brutality because you know what? Hey, you know, that business right there, they haven't done anything in regards to the supposed police brutality. So, you know what? I'm just going to jack their shit. Come on now. Anyway, look at the bullet points here, and then we're going to watch the video, and you're going to see doesn't exactly, you know, match up. Dr. Anthony Fauci clashed with Rep. Jim Jordan at a House subcommittee hearing on Friday over whether the government should crack down on protests to curb the spread of, you know, we'll say human malware. I'm not in a position to determine what the government can do in a forceful way, Fauci said, adding, you should stay away from crowds no matter where the crowds are. But see, he would not say, hey, you know, he wouldn't own up to the fact of that he shut down churches, but Jordan didn't exactly push it. He should have, because under businesses, under Fauci's recommendations, churches were placed because they were seen as a business for whatever reason. But yeah, he'll say churches, no, but yeah, people can protest. You know, I'll just say it's bad if you're not wearing a mask. Basically what he did. Anyway, Jordan repeatedly tried to corner Fauci into saying the government should limit protests, but Fauci refused, saying it was not his place to weigh in on what the government should or should not do, which is not what Jordan did. See, they're trying to portray this as Jordan's going against their free speech. That's not what he was doing. This is how dishonest Business Insider is. What he was doing is he's trying to say, you got no problem with these people taking to the streets, but you got a problem with people going to church and exercising their First Amendment right to freedom of religion. That was what he was trying to do. But Business Insider here, sleazy and dishonest. I don't understand what you're asking me as a public health official to opine on what should get arrested or not, Fauci said. That's not my position. You could ask me as much as you want, and I'm not going to answer it. But that's not what Jordan was doing. We're going to see in the video here. So let's go down to where they've put Jordan's tweet on this, all right? And you look, can't go to church, can't go to work, can't go to school. Even Dr. Fauci says protesting is dangerous, but Democrats encourage people to riot and protest in the streets. But Fauci didn't even really say that either, because what he did was basically he wouldn't commit to anything. He's like, well, I'm not going to say that what they're doing is dangerous, but he's saying, I will say in a crowd. So he was being like, he was being like slick shit. And on the note of them trying to say that he like Jordan was trying to corner him, it was more like he was trying to nail slick shit to the wall, which is an impossibility because he's just a sleazy, scummy, little shifty, you know, deep state shitbag. That's what I've come to the conclusion at this point. Anyway, let's see what you know, transpired between the two here.
The chair now, Rick.
Ooh, would help if I actually had that set to the right output, wouldn't it? Oops. Let me fix that really quick here. Put that over to my there. Ooh.
Recognizes for 5 minutes, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus? I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that number of people. Does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask, contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
See, this is him leading in. This is him trying to basically catch Fauci here. So he's trying to get him to be like, oh, well, no, we shouldn't say that. So then why are we saying we limit church? And Fauci knows this. This is what they're leaving out. Like as part of multiple things that they're leaving out, I should say.
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protesting?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant to...
Well, you just said if it increases the spread of the virus. I'm just asking, should we limit it?
See, because the idea is that he wants to get Fauci to admit, that these protests shouldn't be limited. It's free speech. It's a constitutional right. Because then that opens the door for Jordan to be like, okay, well, these other constitutional rights, which he tried to do with slippery shit here, and slippery shit just kept sliding along. You can't nail him down. You can't nail him to a wall. Oh, he's such a sleazy little bastard, because as we get in, watch what he does, like with the whole church thing, when his recommendations that came from him were that businesses should be certain businesses should be shut down, and churches happen to be considered those types of certain businesses.
Well, I'm not in a position to determine what the government can do in a forceful way.
Well, you make all kinds of recommendations. You make comments on dating, on baseball, on everything you can imagine. I'm just asking you.
Including going to church, which Jordan should have pulled up a direct quote at this point.
You just said that protests increase the spread. I'm just asking you, should we try to limit the protests?
No, I think I would leave that to people who have more of a position to do that. I can tell you...
Government stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci?
Yeah.
Last week in the Calvary Chapel case, 5 liberals on the Supreme Court said it was okay for Nevada to limit church services. Justice Gorsuch said it best. He said there's no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel. I'm just asking, is there a world where the Constitution says you can favor one First Amendment liberty, protesting, over another, practicing your faith?
Which is a valid point. Very valid point. See, this is one thing that the left does not want to go near. This is one thing that Fauci doesn't want to go near, because Fauci's a deep state left, Bill Clinton loving, Hillary Clinton loving. I mean, if you look at the DNC email dump, there's a lot of dick sucking going on by Fauci. And it ain't Bill's dick, because Hillary's got the bigger dick in the family. And so basically, this was like a sham of, on the note of trying to exploit the situation and make things worse than what they, appear worse than what they are, so that they could take advantage of this situation. Now that people are going, wait a minute, you've got this double standard going on, and you've got a situation where people can't go and exercise a fundamental and alienable right, which is go to a house of worship and practice their faith. But you can take to the streets, act a fucking fool, torch shit, take over, sections of whole cities, keep the police out, and allow for criminality to run fucking rampant in your friggin' utopian state that you've created, that you then had to rename because you're like, oh shit, what we did could get us in some serious federal trouble, so let's rename it from Chop to Chaz. I mean, this is the type of shit that they've got no problem with the left, but someone going and exercising their religious liberty, can't do that. Someone trying to put food on the table, no, take our handouts, take the government handouts, take the extra 600 in unemployment, take this, take that. Become our slaves. Who cares if you want to open up your business and provide for your family? Who cares if that's extra 600 a week or unemployment wouldn't generally apply to you because you have your own business? Who cares about that? This is the mentality that's going on.
I'm not favoring anybody over anybody. I'm just making a statement that's a broad statement that avoid crowds of any type, no matter where you are, because that leads to the acquisition and transmission.
But see, you won't specifically say that people gathering together acting fools that the legacy media is trying to portray as, oh, mostly peaceful protest, as they show video of shit burning down in the background. I never thought that I'd get to a point where you would look on CNN, MSNBC, where they're saying that it's a mostly peaceful protest, and they literally have people breaking into shit like, a federal building or shit burning down, and they're running footage of it while they're saying that. We literally, this has been beaten to death, but we are literally living in clown world, beyond the point of clown world. And the thing is Fauci's like, well, I'm not making recommendations. I've made some very broad ones. Yeah. Oh, really? Well, you made some specific ones when, as an expert, you said these certain businesses should remain closed. And what was listed as a business? Again, a church. You are a sleazebag, buddy.
And I don't judge one crowd versus another crowd. When you're in a crowd, particularly if you're not wearing a mask, that induces the spread.
So you got no problem saying that people shouldn't be able to go to houses of worship, but you have a problem with saying the same thing about people protesting right now. Say, well, take to the internet and do your protesting, because hey, that's what we're telling people to do that go to church. Go to the internet to practice your faith.
Simple question, doctor. Should we limit the protests? Government is obviously limiting people going to church. And look, there's been no violence that I can see at church. I haven't seen people during a church service go out and harm police officers or burn buildings. But we know that, for 63 days, 9 weeks, it's been happening in Portland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one night in Chicago, 49 officers were injured. But no limit to protest. But boy, you can't go to church on Sunday.
Yeah, they can burn federal buildings. They can blind federal officers with lasers. They can do all this shit, and that's perfectly fucking acceptable. But someone wanting to go to church to practice their faith? Oh, no, we can't have that. This is the type of mentality that we have here. And trying to nail him down on this, they're trying to spin this because they know he looks like shit here. They're like, oh, well, Fauci. At one point, they were like, Fauci was getting frustrated because he kept getting asked the same question. No, he was trying to he was trying to nail him down on his hypocrisy. That's what they don't. One thing that they did not want to say, because it's true.
What was this?
I don't know how many times I can answer that. I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm just going to tell you.
You've opined on a lot of things, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, but I've never.
This is something that directly impacts the spread of the virus, and I'm asking your position on the protest.
Yeah, I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm telling you what it is, the danger. And you can make your own conclusion about that. You should stay away from crowds, no matter where the crowds are.
Government is...
Okay, so we have him as a quote-unquote expert here to make your own conclusions. All right, enough said. Let's say, all right, government, step the fuck out. If I want to go to church and my church wants to hold service, we're all consenting adults, we're going to do it. They didn't pull this shit during the great pandemic that they keep bringing back up, that they've renamed from the Spanish flu to the 1918. It's not even the 1918 influenza. It's the 1918 pandemic now. It used to be, we'd call it the Spanish flu, outbreak. Or it was always referred to as, Spanish flu. It was never referred to these other, regardless if it was the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak. However, Spanish flu was put in there. Now, because, the whole thing of we got to cover for China and suck their dick, because, oh, no, we can't have it, blame go where it's supposed to go because China allowed this to freaking, escape like the Andromeda fucking strain. Jesus Christ. They're locking their shit down. They're allowing infected people to fly out while they're saying, nothing to see here. Oh, no, nothing. Going and while they're going and buying all the PPE they can get their hands on, having, supposedly independent, non-Chinese CCP run companies, going and getting PPE, and doing so that it doesn't look like it's China doing it, and they're hoarding the shit. Yeah. This is the world we live in.
Government has stopped people from going to work. In fact, just in New Jersey 4 days ago, Ian Smith, Frank Trombetta were arrested for opening up, for trying to operate their business, their gym. They were arrested. But my bet is if these two individuals who own this gym were outside just in front of their gym, and all the people who were working out in their gym were outside protesting, they'd been just fine. But because they were in the gym working out, actually running their business, they got arrested. You think that's okay?
You know, I'm not going to opine on who gets arrested and who does not.
Which wasn't even Jordan's like question, okay, about who gets arrested and who doesn't. But you see, Fauci's got to bring it there, as we're going to see, because he's got to try to be the slippery shit that he is. Because basically, what Jordan's trying to point out here is, see, and Fauci doesn't want to play along with it from the logical point from A to B, you know, follow it through to its conclusion. He doesn't want to go anywhere near it, because then he looks like a hypocrite, because he's the one that said shut down churches, shut down these businesses, do this, do that. And the thing was, he wasn't talking about them getting arrested and saying, well, shouldn't these protesters get arrested? What Jordan is saying is these people aren't a menace to society. They aren't doing stupid shit. They aren't acting a fool. They're just trying to run their business. They took extra precautions to do so, and they got shut down for it. They got arrested for it. Now, do you see a problem with them getting arrested when they're going the extra mile and the protesters are getting away with highway fucking robbery, almost literally? Well, because you have cases where they've tried to jack people's shit. And yeah, so what does that tell you? See, he doesn't want to go and follow that train of thought, because if he were, and he was to be honest about it, he would show that, yeah, the shit that I said before, fucked up. It's whacked. All right? But see, he's a good little lapdog, lackey, deep state bitch. Or he's probably afraid that he might get a Clinton, suicide call. Be found dead, 2 to the chest or 2 to the head, which I don't know how all these people that died of gunshot wounds that were ruled suicides that were involved with the Clintons, somehow the overwhelming majority of them were literally double taps. Double tap to the heart or double tap to the head. And those are the only 2 places where I could see someone, not being able to complete the act. And I think after the first time, if you're still able to like put the gun anywhere, like say to your chest or to your head, I think at that point you might realize you made a mistake and go, oh, fuck me. But yeah, all these people somehow managed to double tap themselves. Maybe that's what he's afraid of.
I mean, you get where I'm going. I'm telling you, as a public health official, I say crowds.
Do you see the inconsistency, though, Dr. Fauci?
There's no inconsistency, Congressman.
How is there no inconsistency? You can't go to church, but you can take to the streets, not wear masks, and act fools, and claim, well, we're protesting police brutality. Okay.
What? There's no so you're allowed to protest, millions of people on one day in crowds yelling, screaming, but you try to run your business, you get arrested? And if you stood right outside of that same business and protested, you wouldn't get arrested? You don't see an inconsistency there?
I don't understand what you're asking me as a public health official to opine on who should get arrested.
That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to get you to say, as a public health expert who's in a position that makes recommendations such as shut down these businesses, including churches, which somehow religious institutions get ruled a business. That's what he's trying to nail you down on, you little weaselly bastard.
Or not. That's not my position. You could ask it as much as you want,
advocated for certain businesses. You've advocated for certain businesses to be shut down. I'm just asking you on your position on the protest. I haven't seen one. We've heard a lot about hair salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist who, between haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protests actually increase the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protests do anything. So
the protests don't increase the spread of the virus?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
It's one or the other. If you're saying that the crowds create an increase, then by extension, the protests do. See, this guy's supposed to be an expert, but he can't give a solid answer on the protest. It's like, well, I didn't say that, but I didn't say this. Oh, he's a slippery shit.
I just want an answer to the question: do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
I don't have any scientific evidence that anything. I can tell you that crowds are known, particularly when you don't have a mask, to increase the acquisition and transmission. No matter
so
what.
So you don't have a position on whether the protests increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus?
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to church. There's limits placed on all three of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
You know, now this is what I love. And then you get the member of Congress who's running the committee coming in and he's like, well, look at them and they're not social distancing on oil rigs, never mind wearing masks, da, da, da. Like tries to totally change the direction of it. It's so sleazy.
The gentleman's time has expired, but I'll just ask the gentleman to just think about his question and put it in reference to crowds that gather at political meetings, at fundraisers without masks, on an oil rig in Texas, nobody wearing a mask, nobody social distancing, but a fundraiser.
Right.
Would that be problematic? With that, I'll yield 5 minutes to Mr. Foster.
Okay. So anyway, let's get through the last part of this article here and get through this video. Because I wanted to go through that because they're trying to portray Fauci as being different on this when he's being like, well, he played it this way when he wasn't being a slippery shit. No, he was just getting frustrated, and he was dealing with the fact of these questions that really aren't related type shit. It's like, come on now, grow up. How old are you people? They honestly think people are stupid. In the legacy media think that people are stupid. So anyway, the U.S.'s coronavirus death toll. The U.S.'s human malware death toll this week surpassed 151,000, the highest of any country. Now, this is what's messed up. All right, they bring this up, but then they leave out all these people that were classified as human malware deaths, and they weren't. You have, let's see, like a guy in Florida who did a Superman off his motorcycle, died on the scene, but it isn't the fact that he splattered across the pavement that killed him. No, it was the Wu flu. And when questioned about it, this was Orlando County. I can't remember who it was. I did a video on this, but if you look back, if you go through, it was like last week, I think. Week before. So it'd be about 2 weeks ago. So probably 5 or whatever, 6 videos, somewhere around there back, 4 videos, something like that. Anyways, when questioned, the guy that was, being questioned, that was part of it. I don't know. He wasn't the coroner, but he was one of those bureaucratic people. He's like, well, I'm not going to exactly say that wasn't what killed him. Excuse me? It wasn't the impact with the pavement or the tree, the palm tree or the car or whatever the hell he hit. Okay. Then you have in Michigan, you have a guy who took a shotgun and did a Kurt Cobain and, Wu flu killed him. Okay. You have all these instances of that. It's ridiculous. But, hey, yeah, we get the highest death count. But, you've got all these hospitals where nurses are sitting on their asses and doctors are sitting on their asses doing nothing, but they're trying to say we're at capacity and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous. When asked how other countries managed to bring their human malware outbreaks under control, Fauci said that when the pandemic began, countries in Europe and Asia shut down 95% of their economies, while the U.S. shut down only 50%. Okay, and Sweden got it under control and didn't shut a damn thing down. They had people who were above the age of 16 stop going to school because they didn't know how well they would be affected, but they knew the younger kids were pretty much immune at that point. They did reasonable shit. They didn't shut down a damn thing. I love how they leave Sweden out of this. And this idea of Europe and Asia shut down 95% of their economies. The UK, you had people commuting to friggin' work with this shit going on. Oh, that's right. Since they did Brexit, well, let's just ignore the UK. Anyway, at the hearing, South Carolina Rep. Jim Clyburn displayed a graphic showing the spike in cases in the U.S. compared with cases in Europe, drawing Trump's ire. Well, yeah, because what Trump said here is very, very true, and they did not like that fact because it calls him out on this one. Somebody please tell Congressman Clyburn, who doesn't have a clue, that the chart he put up indicating more cases for the U.S. than Europe is because we do much more testing than any other country in the world. If we had no cases or bad testing, we would show very few cases. Actually, we have very bad testing, and we're showing way more cases because we've had multiple testing facilities with 100% positive testing as a result, which is statistically impossible. We've had shit tons of people who didn't get a test, all right, getting results saying that they tested positive. There is some really shady shit going on with all of it, but you don't see the legacy media covering that. And you would think Trump might want to bring up all those issues and say, as part of this, maybe do a 2-part tweet or something. But no, I mean, that destroys Clyburn because you literally have thousands upon thousands of people who were never tested. Whether, it was assumed, like a lot of these deaths were assumed. You have a lot of people who didn't get a test, who got positive results back. You have people who got tested who were told they had the human malware when they didn't, because these facilities were popping out just, positive after positive test. So, yeah, we've got some real shady shit going on. Anyway, but multiple public health officials and scientific experts have pointed out that while the U.S. has rapidly expanded its testing and contact tracing ability, that alone doesn't account for the increase in new cases. Yes, it does, because especially when you also have these tests giving off false positives if you've had the common friggin' cold. Well, particular strains of the common cold. Jesus Christ. That states are finding more cases relative to the amount of tests they are conducting provides the strongest rebuttal to the administration's assertion that the case numbers are rising because we're getting better at finding cases through increased testing. Jennifer Nuzzo, an epidemiologist at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, wrote in the Washington Post last month. Yes, this is while at the same time, this past week, you had all these doctors being censored that are on the front lines and calling their bullshit out. You have social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of them trying to take it down. And this idea, this is Orwellian bullshit here, that this idea that they're trying to put here, that finding more cases relative to the amount of tests they are conducting provides the strongest rebuttal to the administration's assertions that case numbers are rising because we're getting better at finding. No, that literally proves his point. This is what's messed up. You're having more cases that are coming up positive. Let's just ignore all the stuff that I brought up about the false positives, the company spitting out 100% positives and everything else. Let's just ignore all that. If you literally have them finding more people that have it, of course you're increasing your case numbers, which is literally what Trump is saying. These people are friggin' demented. Anyway. They tell us the opposite, that each of these states need to do even more testing to find infections, followed by more rigorous contact tracing and isolation. But they're not looking for infections with most of these tests. They're talking, the antibody tests are being included in this. So they're literally being dishonest here. They're taking the antibody tests, all right, which show that you have contracted it, that you've had it, that they don't show whether you're a carrier or whatever, or infected, like sick or anything like that, or actually infected. They just say that you've had it. So they're taking those numbers of the people who've had it, that are no longer infected, that their body wiped it out. They didn't even notice it. They might have thought they just had like the sniffles or a cold or whatever during this and didn't think anything of it. They're getting tested after the fact. Or someone who's a false positive because they've had the common cold. You've got all these numbers increasing, and literally what Trump is saying is that's A leads to B, and they're going, oh, no, A doesn't lead to B, A leads to Z. Oh, God. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.